Marcellus, I'll start with you.
Yes, sir.
Does replay need to be overhauled?
Absolutely yes. The problem is, what are you going to do? We all know perfect is the enemy of good, and this is a good system, but it's not perfect, so therefore there are some things that are left to be desired. The biggest problem with our system currently is they're trying to overlap human error with more human error, but just in a slower process. Because everyone thinks that when you take something from the field to instant replay, there should be some objective measure or at least some distance between what we see and what is actually being corrected. But what's happening, and what we saw last night as an egregious case of it, is our eyes told us one thing, and the NFL and the instant replay system told us something completely different. So until we have a overview of this system, which basically means if you're going to take it from the refs, you can't have obstructions. You can't have boundaries. You can't say, oh, well, within 2 minutes, coaches, you can't challenge. You have to have the complete umbrella, the complete opportunity to review all and objectively somehow measure this so we can get something different than these results.
Overhaul? No. No, not at all. When you use the word overhaul, that's just do away with what we have and start completely over.
Yeah, scrap the whole thing.
I don't believe you need to overhaul. You need to make some adjustments to it for sure. The pass interference review, do away with that. Did he fumble yesterday? 100% he fumbled. But it looked like to me he recovered it as well. Darius Leonard, you ain't recovering no fumble with your left arm by your side and the ball here. That ball's getting taken away under the pile. Somebody else has that ball if you have it. His left arm is not even on the ball. That's number one. So they do need to make adjustments. There's some calls where you're like, if we see that they're making a bad call, and this is Al Riveron specifically, that's a problem. Like, the viewing fans can see, like, what is he talking about? That's a problem. So that adjustment needs to be made, but overhaul, no.
I agree. Adjustment, yes. Overhaul, no. It was, first of all, if they'd have got the ball, if Houston would, if Indianapolis got the ball, it's not like that was a guaranteed touchdown.
Timeout, 50 seconds left. All they need is a field goal to take it over the 5-yard line.
Is it guaranteed?
No.
Nothing's guaranteed.
There we go. It ain't no guarantee. That's to say, it's no guarantees in this league. But, and I agree with you, TJ.
But who came? Deshaun Watson came out the pile with that ball.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
The fumble, you couldn't he looked like he still had the ball. Many times as a running back, the ball gets away and you get it back. So I thought it was a good call.
But what you're saying is you don't do the right thing because you're not guaranteeing the results of doing the right thing.
No.
We have to go process by process, step by step. Let's crawl before we walk. Why we need an overhaul? Because you guys want to edit 10 different things. Guess what that is? An overhaul. We need to look at this and say, what is the core of this instant replay system that works?
It's
not the pass interference. It's not blown whistles on recoveries. It's not what we saw last night. It's not reviewing who has possession. I just listed 4. And that's just in one game. So we have to start talking about that is an overhaul. It is much more dramatic than you guys are leading on to.
I disagree. I mean, when I think about the so-called fumble, the fumble, you couldn't say definitively.
Oh, he fumbled.
Wait, hold it. I agree.
You said so-called.
Definitively that the Colts recovered.
That's what I'm trying to say, that they recovered it.
Oh, Eric, you still hate the Colts.
No.
They owe you money.
No, I call it like I see it. No,
okay.
The ball got away from him, but there's no way that you say Deshaun did not have the ball.
No. When they came up from that pile,
who had the ball?
Deshaun Watson handed that ball to the ref. And so...
Yeah, Darius gave it to him on the way up.
Here you go. Whether he fumbled or not, that's not a question. It 100% was a fumble.
Right.
But the Texans recovered that ball. And you just go to the prior week. Marlon Humphrey clearly pass interfered DeAndre Hopkins in the end zone in the first quarter in a 0-0 game. So that can change the whole complexion of the game. We're talking Houston playing Baltimore Ravens.
You're making our point.
That part needs to be adjusted.
Another one.
But I agree with that part needs to be adjusted.
Yeah.
But an overhaul, if they overhaul this replay system, it's going to get ugly. You're going to say we need an overhaul.
It's already ugly.
Yeah,
We're already talking about Al Riveron.
Over this
way
call,
too much.
Al Riveron has been awful all year. Let's just say that. He's been awful because of the pass
That's why we need an overhaul.
They need to figure that out.
Well, Jason, let me ask you a question. What would you consider an overhaul?
Scrapping
So take it
all of it.
Take all of it.
It doesn't help.
So no instant replay.
Ooh, I don't like that either.
I don't like that. You got to have instant replay.
No, I don't.
So
football had no instant replay when you played.
I agree. I wish we did have it.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
But the technology and as many cameras as you have, and so they can slow things down to where you're like, oh, that was a catch.
I'm gonna tell you,
that wasn't a catch. That's a fumble.
Here's the overhaul I would like, and then we got to move on to talk about the real players. I think there should be 2 officials working from the booth, working from cameras, 2 officials, 2 referees. I think we need to use this technology and let the officials use. I think there should be ISO cameras on virtually all the skilled players.
I like that adjustment.
And so that's an overhaul. And so they can really get some of these calls right and take it out of the hands of these guys on the field that are running around, can't keep pace with these guys, trying to dodge, getting hit, blah, blah, blah. Let's officiate more from the booth than from on the field. And to me, that's what I think.
One more edit, though. It can never be 2. Any group setting, guys, be an odd number. Because they're going to be sitting up there like, it's PI. No, it's not. Then what are we going to do? So you can't multiply human error, which we're doing right now.
All right, let's move on to were we impressed last night with Deshaun Watson and the Texans?
Yes, because I'm getting ahead of myself. Like I think maybe some of the mentality of the discussion, the narrative around Deshaun Watson is getting ahead of itself. So, yes, I'm impressed by Deshaun Watson. You beat a divisional opponent that had beaten you 4 out of the last 5 times. You went out there and had an impressive performance, impressive numbers. But why there's some trepidation, a little hesitance in my voice is because I keep thinking of the MVP conversation, which we'll get to later. But this was impressive because you handled business, but not necessarily to the level of Deshaun Watson, but adequate enough to get the W.
I was impressed because if we recall yesterday, I think I was the only one on here that picked the Texans to win the game.
Okay.
But
did you thank Al Riveron for that? But go ahead.
Right. It's what you said. When you win a divisional game, very important. You lose that, in essence, the way these teams are playing now, you're out of the playoff hunt. And it goes back to what you said. They won the game, but it's not like they won the game and they feel really good about, oh, man, we ready to roll these last 4 or 5 games of the season. They have a lot of work to do. I'm impressed with them because it's a division game. DeAndre Hopkins got off. He scored 2 touchdowns. Will Fuller had a great game. From that 3rd down, they were fantastic. But effectively running the ball, no. And to win in the playoffs with that way that offensive line is, they're going to be able to have to run the ball to slow the opposing team's defensive line down.
I'm like everybody else. Yes, but no. You know, the one thing that really impresses me is Deshaun Watson. I mean, he's just such an impressive player. The way he can actually get out of trouble. I mean, it's very few. In the NFL, that's quite a few, but it's very few quarterbacks can do what he does and throw with just such accuracy. Because one time he stepped up, he stepped back, he stepped to his right, and he threw. I'm like, man. I mean, it's so impressive to watch him. But as I look at the Houston Texans, they're just not a good football team. If you take him away, that team is a bad, bad football team.
I'm with you all. Yeah, I got 298 yards, threw some dimes downfield. Deshaun Watson, impressed. The reason why I'm not overly impressed, though, is I thought Frank Wright and these guys put a leash on Jacoby Brissett that I thought was inappropriate. I thought their running game, Indianapolis running game, was effective, and I didn't mind them. But to me, they wouldn't let Jacoby loose until 3rd and long.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? I mean, because Ty Hilton was blowing the game. Jacoby Brissett was playing well, throwing dimes. I just felt like Indianapolis was very conservative with Jacoby Brissett, kept him in the game, and I get it, stick with the running game. But there was just a little 10%, 15% more I wish Indianapolis had let loose of Jacoby Brissett. And I think that, along with Al Riveron, cost the Colts the game.
To that point, the Colts too conservative, but let's be real. The Texans, they look limited. You guys ever feel bad in a win? I know it was a few times at Buffalo. You go out and everybody pumped. Y'all won. You're like,
we got lucky.
Yeah, we got lucky.
Or this is going to come to an end fast. Think about it. I still see a team sandwiched between that Baltimore game where Baltimore took a chunk of flesh out of them. Said, you know what y'all are? not good enough. And then next week, they get to see the Patriots, which could take another chunk of flesh out of you. So as a collective, it just seems like they've come to an understanding that we have limitations. What does that usually mean? You're a tough out in the first round, whatever that may be. If you make the playoffs, we'll see how that race shapes out. But this looks like a team that, when it comes to the long game, they're not going to be there.
It's like this. What happened was Frank Wright watched that Baltimore Ravens game and said, oh, man, they had a hard time stopping this run. You're not the Baltimore Ravens, Frank Wright, in your offense. And so that's why they had that leash on Jacoby Brissett. And then T.Y. Hilton, he admitted it. He dropped some balls that he normally catches, but he's missed some weeks. He's not really playing a lot. And so that's what happens. These other coaches, they start, oh, man, they couldn't stop this power play. Oh, man, they couldn't stop the stretch play. You ain't got that offensive line. You ain't got those running backs. And more importantly, you don't have Lamar Jackson in the backfield that helps that. And so that's what happens is they had that leash on Jacoby thinking, oh, we have this same type of run game that the Baltimore Ravens unleashed on the Houston Texans, and they don't.
I look at Indianapolis Colts is still looking over their shoulder and thinking, is Andrew Luck coming in the game anytime? Is he coming in?
No, stop.
I'm telling you.
You're right, E.D. They would have called a different game.
They'd have called a different game. It's almost like, man, if we had Andrew, the Colts, they're a good football team, but without Andrew Luck, they just.
Whoa.
Hold on.
I disagree. In terms of, I'm not saying that Jacoby Brissett is Andrew Luck.
No.
But Jacoby Brissett, to me, is a quarterback you should be leaning into. He's ascending.
I agree with that, but I still feel like they still look. I know, like, man, if we had Andrew Luck here, we would do things a little bit different. Maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like that's how they're looking at it.
They trust him more than they trust Jacoby.
That's it.
Game out.
Which is, to me,
and you don't.
What I've seen from Jacoby, they should have some trust in him. But let the man die on the field. Don't make him play with one arm tied behind his back.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.